All right, welcome to The Explainer. You hear the word manager all the time, right? But what do they actually do all day? Is it just a blur of meetings and emails, or is there, a secret science to the whole thing? Well, today we're going to break down the classic theories of management and see how they hold up in the, let's just say, messy reality of today's workplace. You've been there, right? You're in the middle of some chaotic project, and you're just looking around wondering, is anyone steering this ship? Or maybe you've had that quiet thought, you know what, I could totally do this better. If that sounds familiar, then congratulations. You're already thinking like a management expert. So let's start with the definition. And this one is a classic. It's from over 100 years ago, but it is spot on. Management pioneer Mary Parker Follett called it the art of getting things done through the efforts of other people. So simple, right? But that word, art, is everything. It's not just about barking orders. It's about orchestration. Okay, so getting things done. If that's the big challenge, orchestrating a whole group of people to hit a single goal, how on earth do the great managers actually make it happen?
Well, for almost a century now, the world of management has been guided by this really powerful four-part framework. A good way to think about it is like a manager's operating system. It's the core code that's always running in the background, no matter what they're doing.
It's called the POLC framework, and it comes from Henri Fayol. That's POLC for planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. And look, these aren't just some fuzzy abstract concepts. These are 4 very real actions that pretty much every manager performs, whether they know the name for it or not. So yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so everything, and I mean everything, kicks off with planning. This is the where are we going part of the journey. I mean, you can't lead a team anywhere if you haven't defined the destination, right? So you set your objectives, then you figure out the best way to get there. This is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of this.
All right, next up, organizing. Because look, you can have the most brilliant plan in the world, but it's totally useless if you don't have the right people in the right places. This is where the manager becomes an architect. They're literally building the structure, assigning the resources, and designing the jobs so that everyone's efforts are all pulling in the exact same direction.
And then we get to leading. This is where you put down the spreadsheets and the org charts, and the real human stuff begins. It's all about inspiring people to actually want to hit that goal. See, a manager can give directions. That's easy. But a true leader, they tap into what actually motivates their team to spark some genuine enthusiasm.
And last but not least, we have controlling. Now I know that word sounds a little intense, right? But really, just think of it as course correction. It's like the manager's GPS. You set the standards, you check your progress, and whenever the team starts to drift a little off course, you're the one who steers things back on track. Sometimes gently, and, well, sometimes not so gently.
So there you have it. Planning, organizing, leading, controlling. It all sounds so neat and tidy, doesn't it? A perfect little loop. But what does any of this actually look like when a manager walks into the office on a random Tuesday morning? Yeah, let's pivot from the perfect theory to the messy, fragmented reality. Because let's be real, no manager's day is a clean step-by-step from P to O to L to C. Not even close. It's chaos. It's a jumble of putting out fires, cutting deals, and solving problems you didn't even know you had. And for that kind of reality, we need a different kind of model. This is where a professor named Henry Mintzberg comes in. He basically went out and studied what managers actually do all day. And what he found was that their work wasn't really about 4 functions. It was more like a constant, rapid-fire switching between 10 different roles. He grouped all these roles into 3 big buckets: interpersonal, informational, and decisional. And this is where it all gets super real. Just look at the variety. A manager might start their morning as a figurehead, formally welcoming a new client. Then, an hour later, boom, they're a disturbance handler, dealing with a server that just crashed. And then, right before lunch, they have to switch gears again and become a negotiator to hammer out a contract. It's a non-stop, high-speed juggling act. It's definitely not some calm, predictable process. Okay, so if a manager's job is this insane juggling act, what's the one thing, the one skill that holds it all together? Well, it really all boils down to one powerful concept: influence. And right at the heart of influence is leadership. We're not just talking about telling people what to do. We're talking about inspiring them to want to do it. It's that ability to get your team to move forward with real confidence and, actual enthusiasm.
Now, this kind of influence can look really different depending on the person. You've got your autocratic leader who holds all the power and makes the calls alone.
Then you've got the democratic leader, who brings the team into the decision-making process. But here's the secret. Neither one is always right or always wrong. The best leaders know how to adapt. They pick the right style for the right situation and the right team.
And underneath all of this is the concept of power. Now, that word can sound a little scary, but all it really means is the ability to influence someone else's behavior. And the key thing to get about power is this: it's all about dependency. If you control something that I need, could be my paycheck, could be access to information, then you have a degree of power over me. Simple as that.
So, where does this power actually come from? Well, two researchers, French and Raven, broke it down into 5 sources. The first 3 are what you might call formal power: coercive, reward, and legitimate. Basically, this is the power that comes with the job title. But the last 2 are way more interesting. They're personal. Expert power, which comes from your skills, and referent power, which comes from people just plain admiring and respecting you. The really great managers, they work hard to cultivate both types.
And look, if you want to influence people, you have to understand what actually drives them. And for that, we turn to Abraham Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs. The basic idea is that people are motivated by different things at different stages. So if a manager tries to motivate someone with exciting new challenges when that person is secretly worried about paying their rent, it's just not going to work. You absolutely have to meet people where they are on that pyramid.
All right, so we've looked at these structured frameworks, the chaotic reality of managerial roles, and the whole psychology of influence. Which brings us to the big classic debate. Is management a science with a set of rules you can follow, or is it an art, something based on gut feelings and personal skill?
Well, the case for it being a science is pretty clear, right? There's a systematic body of knowledge, there are principles you can test. But then the argument for it being an art is all about the need for personal skill, for creativity, for that know-how to apply all that knowledge in a messy, real-world situation. I love this summary. Science is what you know, art is how you do it.
So what's the real answer? Of course it's both. It has to be both. The science gives you the playbook, the frameworks, the data. But the art is knowing which play to call, how to read the room, and when to just trust your gut. You can't be a great manager with just one. You absolutely need both.
The truly incredible managers, the ones you remember your whole career, have mastered this blend of science and art. So I'll leave you with a question to think about. In your own experience, which have you seen more often? The manager who's all science or the manager who's all art? And maybe more importantly, which one do you think we need more of today?